Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today we're going to take delivery of a Woodmaxx wood chipper, and this truck driver, he was pretty cool. He backed it into my driveway, and my driveway is pretty steep, so I used my winch and I winched it up to his drop gate, and we lowered it down right there, and that worked pretty good. It was like uh, hillbilly unloading. Anyway, this is the part one of the Woodmaxx wood chipper installation video, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you very much for watching. One of the reasons that I chose this wood chipper is I needed something that I could tow behind my tractor. I've got quite a few acres, and I like to kind of keep it clean for, for fire mitigation. And the reason I chose Woodmaxx is I did a lot of research, and they have ups and downs. This particular wood chipper has a belt system, and you probably need to replace the belts every once in a while. And other than that, it seemed to be pretty good reviews, and the guys that I talked to online were pretty happy with them. But one of my main reasons for choosing this is the company is owned by a veteran, and the machine is made in the USA, and it states right on there, made in the USA. So hopefully when I take it apart and do the assembling, hopefully it all says made in the USA, and that's what I'm looking for. In the future, I try to buy most all my stuff made in the USA. Anyway, yeah, this is going to be an assembly video, and let's see how it goes together, and I'll let you know what I think. Let's get started. Right off the bat, I unbox it and start taking out all the stuff. I noticed right off the bat the tires were really nice sized tires, and if you're going to be pulling it through the dirt and on trails, that's a nice feature. Nothing seemed to be damaged. There was a few loose bolts in the bottom, but nothing too bad at all. Actually, it was all in really nice shape. It was wrapped up really good, and so far so good. So basically what I do is I get everything out, I lay it all out, and make sure all the parts are there, and start assembly. And it looks pretty easy. I mean, they give you really nice directions, and matter of fact, they got books on the motor and everything. Now, this particular 1260, I ordered with a Vanguard motor, and I didn't get the electric start. I don't need electric start, but so it's a $120 upgrade for the Vanguard motor. So right here, the first thing they tell you to do is to hook up this front piece, and it's basically the support for the tongue, for the towing tongue. And so right off the bat, I get this thing bolted on. It comes with all the tools too. It's got wrenches and everything. I ended up afterwards using an impact on all the bolts that I was installing. And right here, I basically tighten up. There's 4 bolts to install this first piece. And once you get that all tightened up, it says, lift this thing up on a block and then install the tongue. And the tongue was, I mean, of course, this isn't that heavy of a piece of equipment, but basically 2 bolts, and you install your tongue, and then it's got this little drop leg for when you're not hooked up to your tractor. You can just have it sitting there, and it's got a little adjustable pin, and you install that. So that's pretty straightforward, and you put a pin in it up, and then put a pin in it to hold it down. Next up was to lift this whole thing up and put these tires on. And what I needed to do was actually put the leg down and then get some blocks and get this thing up high off the ground so that I could put these tires on. I was by myself, so it wasn't too bad. You just lift it up, put some blocks under there, until you can get it high enough to put the bolts on. The two back bolts are easy, and then the two front ones are a little harder to get to. I ended up using an impact on the two back bolts, and then I had to use a hand ratchet on the front too. That was the easiest way, and they're 5/8 bolts. Right there you can see I have the impact out, but you couldn't really get the impact. You could only get the impact on the two rear ones, and then you had to use a ratchet on the front. But the whole assembly, I mean, it went together really well. I didn't have any trouble with it. You can see this tire right here, and it can twist two ways, and I twisted it so that the chipper was up off the ground higher so I could get more clearance. I also, it's not in this video because I don't have it yet, but I thought that it came with the wider axle extensions to make the tire, to make it wider when you're towing it down a trail, a little more stable. So I don't have those right now, but I did right after I put this together, I made sure and go and order those. It'll just be more stable. So right there, it's on its wheels, and basically next step is to put the front chute where the chips come out. That was the next step. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The next step, they tell you to take off the cap so that you can spin the chipper blade and then check the blade. And so what I did right there is I removed the cap, and then I looked inside where the chipper is right there and made sure that the gap was proper in there. And it looked good, and so I put this cap back on. That's one of the tools they give you with the chipper. So the next up is to put this front chute on. And it can only go, it can go two ways, but really this, if you look at the stickers on it, it shows you which way, you know, for the stickers. And I found it easier to put these bolts through the rubber first when starting them. Otherwise the rubber kept falling off. It was a little awkward. But yeah, just bolt that thing on there. And pretty easy. 4 bolts. I'm pretty excited about this chipper. I have a big piece of property, and I like to do fire mitigation and keep it clean, and this is going to be a big help. So next up is the big chute, and it has a gasket, and it also has a sensor underneath it, so that this thing, if the chute ever opens or comes off or something, it'll automatically kill the motor. And there's the little sensor. And I decided, I don't like dangling wires, so I got some little sticky clips for zip ties, and I put about 4 of these on here. That way I could zip tie this all on there. And that worked pretty good, except a lot of my zip ties were old and they didn't hold very good, but I finally got enough good ones on there to make it hold. If you ever buy zip ties, buy UV rated zip ties. Otherwise, a lot of them, if they're not UV rated, they pretty much don't last. So right there, I get it all zip tied up, looking pretty clean, and then that part of the job's done. Yeah, it's looking good. Next up was to basically that's the whole assembly. So what I did was I went back through with an impact and impacted everything that I had put together. Wheels, I checked all the bolts to make sure that I had this thing rock solid. It's a good looking chipper. I'm pretty happy with it so far. I hope if it does is good. You know, right here I'm filling it up, and I'm using some premium unleaded gasoline. And it looked, when I first when I first checked it, it looked like it had oil in it. Um, However, I was wrong about that. It just had residue of oil, so it didn't have any oil in it. And when I started it, I took it outside and I started it up the first time. It started and then it shut off right away. And I thought, oh, that's weird. And I started it again, and then I thought it was just cold, but the truth was, it it didn't have um, it didn't have any oil in it. And when I did a thorough inspection of it, I saw that it was not. It didn't have enough oil. So I put oil in it, and it takes 10W30 synthetic oil. I filled it up with oil, and made sure that it was it had the right amount in there, and then double checked everything, and then started it up again. And this time it ran and just never quit. And I let it just, because it's brand new, I let it idle for a little while. And yeah, it started right up and did really well. Thanks for watching Outlaw Woodworking in part 1 of the Woodmaxx wood chipper. This video was just assembly and startup, and I had no problems. Assembly was really easy, straightforward. The directions were really good. I'm super happy that this whole thing is made in the USA. Yeah, zero trouble with assembly. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And I will see you on part 2 when we go out and do some chipping with it.